Good evening, and I would like to welcome you to the first of a series of recordings that we're going to do with some people who can actually address some of the First Amendment protests that we see going on and how students and community policing can be utilized on our campuses during this time of unrest. My guest this evening is Chief Terence M. Calloway, who currently serves as Florida A&M University's Assistant Vice President of Safety and Chief of Police. He has over 21 years of law enforcement experience. Prior to coming to Florida A&M, he served as Austin Peay State University's chief from 2012 to 2013, and as Chief of Police and Director of Public Safety. During his law enforcement career, Calloway has served as patrol officer, dare officer, school resource officer, vice officer, and lieutenant. He's very passionate and focused on leadership of his staff. And while at FAMU, he has been able to re-energize the police department and advance its reputation as a respected police department through training, discipline, accountability, and stimulating creativity and growth. He has also been a motivational speaker for various venues around the country. Chief Calloway holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, a master's degree in public administration. He's also a graduate of the FBI National Academy Session 244, FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Seminar, and the FBI Great Lakes Leadership Seminar, and Florida's Chiefs Executive Seminar. So he's very well trained from the state and the federal level on dealing with emergency management, as well as in providing immaculate leadership to other officers. The reason I have him here this evening with us is Chief Calloway is also the current president of the Historically Black Colleges and Universities Law Enforcement Executive Administrators Organization. He's also a member of the Florida Police Chiefs Association and the International Association of Chiefs of Police. More pertinent to the issues that are going on today, Chief Calloway had also just arrived to Florida A&M University in 2013 when the verdict for the person who was acquitted for killing Trayvon Martin, which stimulated the Black Lives Matters organization. And so I want to start our conversation with the Chief this evening by discussing some of the strategies that were implemented with students as they exercised their First Amendment rights to protest. Chief Calloway.
Well, thank you for having me. The pleasure is always mine to be on the stage where we get to speak to students at different levels, for them to get an understanding of what takes place in the police world and how we, as police and community leaders, can make sure that our students can protest, voice their opinion, march, and do all the things that's needed of them. But the main thing is for them to stay safe. So when I arrived at Florida A&M University, I had been here maybe 60 days. I was enjoying the summer heat of Florida, which I wasn't accustomed to. And I can recall the verdict coming out for the Trayvon Martin case. And as I sat there contemplating what is the best avenue to take, since I'm new to the school, I don't really know the students, but I knew what to expect. So I immediately went back up to the school. We started making some phone calls to our student affairs office, our communications office, our dean of students, to make sure that we were, student government associations as well, to make sure that we were reaching out and communicating with our students to give them an idea of what they can do, how they can go about doing it safely. But we also reached out to the Tallahassee Police Department to make sure that we have mutual aids agreement in place. So when our students leave our campus to protest and march to the Capitol, there was a route already designed for them. There were things that they could and could not do. There was areas already roped off for them. So I just had to come and speak to the students. I didn't know them, they didn't know me. I mean, they knew of me, but it was very difficult to try to get the respect, the trust of someone that you've never met. So what we did was we stood in front of the students. We didn't tell them what they couldn't do in terms of marching or protesting. It was their opportunity to show what they felt. So what what wind up taking place is I talk to the students to let them know that you have a freedom of speech, you have a freedom to assemble. But the biggest thing is you still have to hear and abide by the rules of the police department. So when the police ask you to do something, make sure you do it. They had public phones or their own phones in public so they can record what was taking place with the officers. They have a right to do that. What I told them was make sure that when you're marching, adhere to the rules, regulations, but have a purpose for what you're marching for. Don't just march because you see other people marching. And I also informed them to arm themselves with education, know their rights, know their responsibilities, know what they can and cannot do. And when that was all said and done, the biggest piece was me giving the students my phone number to let them know if you needed any assistance in terms of ideas, I'm in trouble, what do I do? I was there for them. And I think that has gone a long way 7 years later.
Well, I think that's a very critical piece. And as we have parents who are anticipating or contemplating having their freshman students actually leave their homes for the first time and go to campuses across the country, what is some advice or maybe some words of wisdom you can share with those parents about the ability of campus police to provide community policing and safety on campus, but also that coordination that you spoke about with local police for to assist students when they actually are outside of the gates or the confines of campus?
So the first thing I would tell parents is let your student go. Let them come to the school and enjoy themselves to create their own lives. You can still be there for them, but kind of remove the crutch in some aspect. This is their opportunity for them to branch off to be the successful people or person that the parents would like them to be. The other thing is I would ask parents to do their due diligence on the safety of the university itself. We've all, as parents, we done our due diligence in terms of academia for the school, but the biggest concern as a parent, how safe is my kid walking from one building to the next? So I would urge parents to look at the safety reports of each school to find out what are some of the troubling areas. Reach out to the police chief to make sure, like, what are we doing? What are you guys doing? How can I make sure that my baby is safe going from one place to another? The other thing is when students get here, I oftentimes do their orientations, whether it's freshman orientation or their graduate orientation. And it's amazing to me to see these young minds come to school and then watch them matriculate through the process to become these adults now. But I think it's very important for them to understand, one, to have open communication with the police, be able to speak your mind freely about what you think and what you don't think. The second thing is to establish a rapport. Go find out what the police are doing. Introduce yourself to them and allow them to introduce yourself to them. Find out what it is that you can do to make the police department or the university safer, what you can help to or contribute, I should say. I think the third thing is having some type of accountability program. If students are accountable for each other, it makes a huge difference. I think where some people fell short is they rely solely on the police for safety. Safety isn't just a police obligation. It's a university-wide obligation from the president down to whoever. It's a community that makes sure these students matriculate through. And when you speak about community policing, I think people look at community policing as, oh, well, it's, protect and serve, but it's more than that. It's getting out knowing people. It's knowing names of things because no crime is solved just by the police. People in the community help that police solve crimes. But when you establish this rapport with these students, so they can see that you are a human being behind that badge. And I think that becomes very important. But we also want our students to be safe. So we give them safety tips on how to keep themselves safe, what things to do. Here at Florida A&M University, our crime is the lowest it's been since 2000. And the only reason I say 2000 because the database only went back 20 years. So I'm pretty sure it's probably 1999, somewhere along there. But the whole gist of it is that we are safe. And there's nothing 100% safe. But I think the part of it is officers getting out of the cars. The way to deter crime is to be visible. And crime is done by opportunistic people. If you remove the opportunity, you will lessen the crime. And that's important. So when these officers walk through buildings, they say hello to people. In your office, Doc, it shouldn't be when the officer come through, you're all of a sudden, oh, did something happen? That's not the look you should have when the police come. You should say, oh, they'll be here anytime today. That's what you should expect. So I think when officers are visible, they're getting out, they're checking buildings, they're engaged with the students. They are in places where the students are. That helps them to get to know who these students are. You know what students will do, what they won't do. I think that becomes very important. But also giving students the tools that they need to make it when they're outside the gates. Like, what do I do? Like, we have a program called Live Safe that we utilize here, where students can text things anonymously. You know, I go speak to them about safety. We have conversations about different things. But the key is education and training our students to, one, look for things, you know, try not to park in dark areas, use the badge system, which is buddy after dark. Have a whistle, scream. Kids can scream all day when they on set, at the set. So make that apparent as well. Don't talk to strangers. I mean, I know our parents have told you stranger danger since we was little kids. But the biggest thing our kids are facing is they are naive to some things. A lot of kids aren't street kids. So these people who are street, they're trying to take advantage of our kids. So one of the things they're doing is telling these students, hey, they're befriending them. Take them out to dinner, take them out to lunch, buy them, whatever the case might be, and then ask, well, how much do you have in your bank account? A student will say, oh, $300-400. So they give them some phony check, tell them to deposit this in your account, give me the $300, and you keep $700. Money has changed how our students think. So we got to get them to understand that everything that glitters is not gold. Pay attention to the underlying writing of it. So, and I think with that, just the education and training makes students more aware of what's taking place.
Well, with the global pandemic that we're dealing with, on top of the unrest that is going on with the protests that are happening in most of our major cities and some smaller cities as well. I know some of the police officers that might normally be more engaged in community policing are now having to do things like make sure that gates are better controlled so that we don't have people who coming in and out of campuses that are more closed. So can you say a little bit more about the role of partnering with the local police department? And because not all of our students are going to live on campus, some of them will live in the community. So what is the relationship between the campus police and the city police or county sheriff, and how does that play a role in safety?
So I think it plays a huge role. Prior to me coming to Florida A&M University, not to speak negatively about anyone, but I didn't feel that our mutual aid agreements were strong. So what I sought was to familiarize myself with police departments 60, 70 miles outside of Tallahassee. Because what we learned from the Virginia Tech shooting is Virginia Tech didn't have enough resources to handle that incident. If it wasn't for outside partnerships, it would have been worse than what it was. So upon me arriving here, I made sure that, one, I went and met with the Tallahassee police chief. I went and met with the Leon County sheriff. I met with everyone that was in close proximity to me. And ones who were further away, I made conversations with them via telephone. And what I ask of them is, FAM doesn't have the resources that the county or the city has. So I am dependent upon them. But the only way you can get that established is you establish this relationship with them. So once we did that, our relationship has grown over the years. And of course, I can't leave out Florida State. We have a great working relationship with Florida State, which I can walk from my office to their campus. But this becomes very important. We have a community college here that Florida State, ourselves, and the community college, when we have students, one of their students, or they have one of ours that has gotten into some trouble, we reach out and call that police chief of that, college or university. And with the partnership with the Tallahassee Police Department and the Leon County Sheriff's Department, it's been amazing. Like when you're right, our students all don't live on campus. And when something happens in one of those apartment complexes, I receive a call from Tallahassee Police or the Leon County Sheriff. And to make case in point, today there was a traffic accident that took place in the city. And I'm hoping and praying, and those who are listening, please pray for one of our students, because the Tallahassee Police Department immediately picked up the phone, called me, said, Chief, there was an accident at such and such. There's some life-threatening injuries, and one of those injured is a student of FAMU. Without that mutual aid agreement, it wouldn't have never happened like that.
So
But
what I hear you saying is that it's really important that students always have that student ID on them, so that if something does occur, they can let the authorities know that they are a student of the university. And so that those relationships, even though they may not personally have it, the relationships that the chiefs have with each other and police officers have with each other can assist them in that situation.
absolutely. But our students they call themselves slicker than we are. So they know if they're doing something they have no business, then that ID also identifies them when they're getting in trouble. So yeah, but we encourage them that. And the beauty of it is a lot of the officers that work with Tallahassee Police Department and Leon County are alums of FAM. So their love for the university, they know how they were when they were 19, 20. So they only, what they say, pay it forward. They've only keeping our students in line, and we appreciate that.
And I think that goes for most, especially his HBCUs. A lot of the people that live in the communities around them actually are alumnus or definitely have benefited in some way from the university being a part of that community. So they actually want to try to assist students versus not to hinder them. So I think helping our students understand that having a university relationship is beneficial, and you identifying yourself as a student to law enforcement, whether you're on campus or off campus, is a critical piece of staying safe, as well as letting them know your plan so they can help you stay safe in your protests. What you mentioned earlier about having a safe route for them that has already been identified, and so that there will not be any opportunities for people to potentially infiltrate their peaceful demonstrations and create other problems. So what are some of the signs that they may want to look for of people who may be actually there not for a peaceful demonstration, but to actually break the law and cause problems? And what's the student's role in that, and
So,
helping keep that to a minimum?
so I think the biggest thing the students do, unlike you and I, they live, sleep, and eat with that phone. That is their livelihood. You could take their money, you could take everything away, but if you take that phone, they're paralyzed. So when students see things, like when you're doing a protest, generally everyone who's protesting is on the same page. They're looking for the same resolution to what they're protesting for. So these people that aren't looking for that, you will start to see different sides of them. They're acting a little different. They're confrontational doing your peaceful protests with you. Those are some of the things you look for. People who weren't at the meetings, like here, oftentimes you have the minority students at Florida State, along with our students who oppose this march that they're doing. So they have meetings, and there's some organization to it. So when you see people trying to disrupt your organization, hey, you have a phone, call the police. There's a ton of police out there. If the police see that you're doing things in a positive way and someone is trying to disrupt it, by all means, let the police know, because what's going to happen ultimately is your positive demonstration gets negative news media coverage because someone who wasn't with you all, looking to do different things. So when you look at, some of them have done, all of them wore the same t-shirts. All of them had this. When people don't have, maybe not the exact same t-shirt, but if they say black t-shirts and then somebody comes with a different color t-shirt, that's a red flag. If someone is, when you're chanting one thing, they're chanting something else, that's a red flag. The confrontation that people have, that's a red flag. All these are signs that you should seek the police help to get that person removed from your peaceful organization. And Dr. James, I wanted you ask a question, or you made a statement earlier about gates and access for whatever. There are a lot of HBCUs that are open to the public, with Florida A&M University being one of them. So it's hard for us to cut off the traffic through here, because they want to get from one side of town to the other. They're going to utilize our facility. But what we've asked our students to do is pay attention to certain things, just as we're doing in the protest. If you see something, say something. We have over 758 cameras on campus. We have license plate readers at all entry. So just letting you know, if you come down to FAM and your license suspended or whatever the case might be, we're going to get you. But all of those things we ask our students to pay attention to. And to help us improve our safety on campus, we created this program for those who haven't been on FAM's campus. We have a area called the SET. Those who are Greek, they know about the SET or whatever the case might be. But we created this thing called a SET, which is our student escort team. And what we have done in the past is, because so many of our students are indigent in terms of they're just trying to make it. Their financial aid money is going back home to help mom, dad, their family. So they have nothing. And we all know that most of our kids are struggling. When they're struggling financially, it affects them academically. So we've created this SET program where we pay a student $9 an hour. They can work 20 hours a week. They drive an older police car that we remove the lights and the radio and all of that stuff. But the students call it the FAMU Uber. And so around campus, students can call. Well, now we have the little app on the phone. They can request a ride. We'll pick them up. What we found that has done for us, it's built our students' confidence. It makes them more vibrant about what's taking place, and it keeps them safe. And when people feel safe, they have a different step process. They have a different love for what's taking place. And then the people who want to commit crimes, they know now, well, we don't have students walking on campus as much. So it eliminates our robberies, our sexual assaults, our regular assaults. It just eliminates a lot of things. And we're very grateful for that. So I wanted to make sure that I brought that up, because you spoke about the gates.
As we conclude, I want to raise one more issue. For those parents out there who may be sending their children to a HBCU that's in a rural or southern state, and they are from California or a northern state where the culture is just a little bit different. And they may have concerns about sending their child to the South in this time. What do you have to say to those parents?
Well, I am I guess I would be called a darn Yankee, because a Yankee is somebody who come when intentions are going back to the North. And a darn Yankee is somebody who have no desire to go back. So I have no desire to go back. But what I would say to parents is, there's a different culture from the North to the South, and the people are different. And sometimes the politeness of people in the South can lure people in to do different things or engage in different activities. So what I would tell parents is, one, to preach to your children about being safe. Again, the stranger danger thing has been taking place for years. If you have any doubt about anything, pick up the phone and reach out to the police. People approach, my daughter was a student here at FAM, and I often told her, when people approach you with different scams or whatever, say, hey, my dad is police. Let me call him and see if that's okay with him. And then the ones who are legitimate, they'll stick around. But the ones who are bull crappers, they're gone. But I also would let parents know that and I'm trying to say this in a politically correct way, like the racism is different in the South than it is in the North. Right. So the things that I've seen in the South, I haven't seen up North. Like, I know in Cleveland, we're not going to see somebody riding around with a Confederate flag at one of our schools. You're just not going to see it. And we are facing different times now. So I urge parents to let the students know to be safe, to be cautious of their whereabouts, to go places with people that you trust if you can, to utilize a buddy system. Don't be afraid to speak up about things, because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. But the biggest thing is just to make sure that you establish a well foundation for your child at home, and trust that your foundation will carry them and allow them to do the things that you expect. And I would like to say that for those parents, students, please be safe. Like, the wearing of masks is vitally important. When you look at Leon County here, 57% of our cases with COVID are in the African American community. When we look at the percentage in which they have tested, 28% are from the age range of 15 to 24, which affects our schools. The
Yes.
second highest percent is 17, between the ages of 25 and 34. So 43% of the people in our county who has tested positive for COVID are between 15 and 34 years of age. Younger people think they're invincible. It won't happen to them. Florida has all of these beaches, Disney World, like all of these things, and people want to enjoy that. But please, please, please be safe. Get a mask, wear a mask. I had a mask on when I was doing this Zoom call, but decided to take it off because I couldn't breathe on you all. So yeah, get your mask. I have mine. Get yours. And thank you all. Thank you, Doc, for allowing me to share a few minutes of your time. And I hope what we said helps our students and our parents.
Well, Chief, thank you for the information and the knowledge that you shared. I think it'll be helpful not only for students that are going to HBCUs, but also students that are going to go to other predominantly white institutions across this country, to have this critical information about how the police services or the campus police services actually can assist you in staying safe, but also it's also our responsibility to help the community be safe by taking those tips that you've outlined for us, and maintaining those buddy systems, not being alone, having a check-in system. I mean, it's too easy now with all the different video um, call type of apps that are out there. Just a quick check-in with a buddy, or to let them know where you are, where you're going. If you don't want to tell your parents, somebody should know where you are at all times, and know who you're with, so that there could be some accountability and some check-in, and so that if something is amiss, that we can quickly get assistance to you. And also, thank you for raising the issue of staying safe around COVID-19, because as we deal with some of the things that are going on around policing in our community, this pandemic is still very much rampaging our nation. And we're still in the first wave. Everyone's talking about the potential second wave, but we have not really gotten our arms around the devastation of the first wave, because testing has not been completed in a way for us to have a true number of the endemic rate in our population. And so as we continue to move forward and we have our students start to come back to campuses and come back to spaces where they will be under the care and control of people like yourself and other police chiefs around the country, having an organization like HBCU, LEEA, where they can get not only training, but necessary information that will help them to empower students to increase the safety of all of our campuses. So it's my pleasure to serve as you guys' general counsel and to have an opportunity to engage with you. And as we encourage more people to become a part of the organization, I hope doing things like this will help spread the word about the good works of the organization.
Thank you very
So
much.
thank you, Chief. Have a good evening.
You do the same. Thank you.